Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I'm a computer programming instructor, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to upload and get your projects graded in Sail. So, if you go to Sail, I'm going to walk through this Learning with Sail platform project. And in here, they describe how to submit your assignments for the autograder to be able to grade your submissions. And I'm not going to go through every piece of this. There's a lot of information here on how Sail works in general. But the main part of how you turn in your assignments works as follows. So what you will get when you first do a Sail assignment is a project handout. If you click on that, you'll get a zip file, and that zip file will actually have some scaffolded code that you'll start off with to do the assignments in Sail. Once you download it, you can extract that repo or that zip file. And when you open that, you'll notice that there's actually two directories. There's a top-level directory, in this case called Learning with Sail, and there's one inside of it. When you open this in Visual Studio Code, you're going to want to open this inside directory. If you open this outer one, it will create some problems later on when you try to install some of the requirements and create your virtual environment. So always open this one. And you can, depending on how you installed Visual Studio Code, you may have the option here to open with code. But if you don't, just open up Visual Studio Code. And you can go to File, Open Folder. Or you can use this open folder link here. Either one will work fine. Go to where you opened up that directory, and notice we have Learning with Sail, and then we have another Learning with Sail. So I'm going to select this folder here and open up that inner one. If you do that correctly, you should see in the root folder, if you open up your Explorer in Visual Studio Code, you should see in the root folder all the files, and there shouldn't be an additional directory. If you do this, if you open up the wrong one, it will look like this. So let me open up, for example, if I open this folder, the top level folder, you'll see that you have this additional folder level here, which is Learning with Sail. We don't want that. So if you accidentally do that, just click in there, open this inner one, and now you will be in the correct folder. So, having confirmed that we are in the correct folder, the next step is creating our Python virtual environment. So we're going to take this command. Actually, before we do that, one of the things that can happen is we need to make sure that our PowerShell has scripts enabled. And to make sure our PowerShell scripts are enabled, we can do the following things. We can open up PowerShell. Let me do that again. We can open up PowerShell and run it from administrator mode. So we don't want to just click here. We want to run as administrator. So one of the challenges with PowerShell is that when you first load it or install it, the PowerShell scripts do not run out of the box. So you have to enable it. And it's not so much a security policy as a safety policy to make it so that a user doesn't accidentally do dangerous things. But since we're programmers, we need the ability to execute scripts. And there's several different options. We can run restricted, which is the default, which means basically you can't run anything. All signed is one of the safest policies. It only runs scripts that are signed. Remote signed is also a safe policy, but it only addresses scripts that have been brought in remotely. So we're going to go with remote signed. And then there's also unrestricted and some other options here. So to run in remote sign mode, in our PowerShell, running in administrator mode, which means that we have to approve that. When it comes on, it's going to give you a dialog to approve it. We will execute the following command. So we'll do this get execution policy first to see what policy are. So mine's already set to remote signed, but if we needed to, we would do set execution policy and if we, in this case, I said set execution policy remote signed. It's going to ask you to confirm. So I'm going to put Y to say yes. And now I can confirm again. Yeah, nothing changed. But if yours was something else than remote signed, you're going to want this to be remote signed. Once you do that, then we know that these commands that we receive in that we're going to execute here in Sail will work. And you do this once, and for the rest of the course, unless you change the execution policy, you won't have to do that again. So I'm going to copy this command, which is going to create our virtual environment in our application. So here now I can. And by the way, if you did change the execution policy, you might want to shut down Visual Studio Code and reopen it to make sure that it's applied. But I'm going to now create a virtual environment. And when this happens, look at the directory up here, and what you'll see is that suddenly this folder shows up right here. And it takes a little while for this to run. Because right now it is downloading things from the internet and is creating this folder structure. You really don't want to interfere with this process at this point in time because you might corrupt your virtual environment. Just let it run, and then when the prompt shows up again, that means that this is completed. Now, this virtual environment is a place where when we install different libraries from our package manager called pip, this is where they will reside. If you didn't do a virtual environment, what would happen is all your package installations would go onto your overall computer, and that creates the danger that if you have multiple Python projects on there, if you change package installation, it might negatively impact other projects on the same computer. So by doing this, we make the packages that are associated with this project local to this project. The next step, after you create a virtual environment, you have to activate it. And depending on if you're on Mac or Windows, there's different commands. You really just need this code right here. You can put the dot if you wish. Actually, we'll just go ahead and do that since that's what is placed here. But what we're doing is we're actually executing a script inside of here. So you'll notice that there's this scripts folder and there's this activate file or a batch file here. So we're going to execute that batch file by going to project venv scripts, and we're calling this batch file. When we do that, what you'll notice is that now you have this little flag here, which is saying that we are now running within the context of this virtual environment. If you aren't running in the context of the virtual environment, it's going to look for the packages on the machine rather than what we install. So it's very important from here on out to be running within the context of the virtual environment. And if you're not there, just execute this activate script and it will make sure that that environment is executed. There's some more explanation of what's going on in here. You can review those to have a better understanding of this process. But the next step we're going to do is this pip install library document. So pip is a package manager, and what a package manager is it's basically a collection of files and programs that that can be used by our program in order to do things. And there's many different packages available. You can actually come to pypy.org and look up all the different packages which are out there. But these allow us to extend the capabilities of the language in order to, so that we don't have to write all the code ourselves. We can reuse publicly available and open source libraries to do many interesting things. To install a package, we are going to use the pip command. Now, you could say pip install and identify specific packages, but in this startup handout document that we got, there's a requirements.txt document. And you'll notice that for this lesson, we need all of these packages installed. If we did pip install Boltons, pip install certify, and did these one by one, it would take a long time. So what pip gives us is the ability to point to a requirements document, which is basically just a text document with all of your dependencies, i.e. the libraries you want to import listed. And it will then go here and install all of these one by one. So notice now that once I do pip install -r requirements.txt, it's actually going out to the internet. And if I open up this library folder here in site packages folder, we're going to see that after a while, these will start showing up in this site packages folder. And it takes a little while for these to install, but at least we didn't have to type out each one of these one by one. -r requirements will bring all of them in. So when you're done, notice that all of these packages were added to our site packages folder under lib in our project. In fact, we can, if we were to look at this in File Explorer, we would see that in here, site packages, those are all those library files which have been downloaded from the internet and installed in our virtual environment. So now we have, we're ready to start working on the assignment. So those steps are the steps you will do at the beginning of every single SAIL assignment in order to bring down the project handout that gives you the starter code for the assignments that you want to do, that you need to do to learn Python in this case. And then, so then you'll get some instructions. So if we go down to here, we're going to now simulate what we do to turn in assignment. So let's say that you're complete and you were ready to turn in your work. You will open up submit.py and you're going to change the number here to a 1. You're also going to go to, you have the Show Credentials button here. When you click on that, that's going to give you your username and submission password. You're going to need that for the next step. We are going to run our submit.py, and to run the submit.py, type in Python. Depending on how your installation of Python works, you may need to put Python 3, and then the name of submit.py, which is this program. So we're going to run this program at the command line. And the first time it runs, it's going to ask you for your username. You can copy your username and to put your username here, just right click. Don't hit Control V like I did there. You notice that didn't work. Just hit your right click button, hit enter, and then copy your submission password and right click it there. Now when you right click it here, I just right clicked, it's not going to show anything because at the command line when you type in a password, it doesn't want to echo it to the screen for security reasons. Just trust after you hit that right click button one time, then hit enter, that it will take it. It's going to ask you to confirm that you agree to these terms. And there we can see that the submission has succeeded. If it fails, it might be a number of things. One, you might have not entered the password correctly. Just try it again and enter the password. Other problems might be that you didn't change the task number to 1 and save the change. So make sure that if you change the task number, in fact, it's probably a good idea just to close out submit before you do this process. That ensures that your change has been made. So if you haven't saved, it thinks this is still 0, and that gives you an error. And there might be other things that cause it to not work. If it does, then contact your instructor and they will help you. So now, where do we see the results of our submission? If we go back to our project, we can click on submissions, and So we can go back up to the top and look at our submissions, and you'll see your submission is here. Now you have the opportunity here to download your code. If you, for some reason, needed to get another copy of it, you could get it there. Normally you already have it, so you don't usually use this that often. And the other thing you can look at here is your feedback. And so the feedback will actually provide you input on how you did. So in this case, I got a 45 out of 45. If there are any errors, it will tell you in here what errors you might have had. So, and it shows you all the things that it checked on here to see if it worked. So this is where you'll get feedback on your assignment. Now, if you get any errors in here, simply go back to your project, change up your code, do whatever you need to do to fix it, and then go back and run the submit again in order to see if you can get a better result. And Sail is set up so that you can do multiple submissions, and each time you submit, you'll find more feedback that confirms what you got right and if there's anything wrong, and you just keep repeating this process until you get everything right, and then you can move on to the next task. So that is basically how we turn things in with Sail. Thank you very much.